Oh, hi, I'm Mike Harrell, and this is from the Free Disclosure Gift Project. And today I'm going to be talking with Michael Bodewitz. Is that how you say your name?
That was good. Yeah, you got it right.
Bodewitz. And he's out of Oregon Energy.
I'm from Springfield, Oregon.
Springfield, Oregon.
Yes, sir.
With flute music.
That was my tone on my phone. I apologize.
That's cool, though. Well, you play flute too, right?
I do. Yeah, I'm kind of a beginner, but I like playing flute.
We're going to talk today, hopefully, about some fantastic stuff that's been going on in your life. First of all, it's about the Sasquatch people, which, as we were talking earlier, I think they're really important, because one of the things that the Sasquatch people are doing is they want to teach human beings, that is us people, the ones who are listening, about interspecies communication. And to me, that's like, it's the reason why that's important is not just so we can talk to these cute, cool, high beings and stuff, but because I think it's going to be a requirement before we go into our galactic community. If you can't get enough people to communicate with the beings on our own planet, interspecies, then how are we going to be able to really be comfortable with intergalactic star nations? So right. you wanna introduce yourself and begin to tell the story of how you first got started with meeting Sasquatch and becoming friends.
Okay, well, it really began at an early age. I was probably about 14 years old. My father went out and had an experience, and he was out hunting one morning, and he was sitting up on a ridge listening to the deer walking the creek down below. The birds were chirping. The sun was getting ready to come up. And he was sitting there. And then as the sun crested the mountain over, he heard a god-awful scream. I mean, it was just huge, and it came from a mountain over. And he heard this scream. And after it was done, basically the deer ran away in the creek below, and all the birds just shut up. And the hair on the back of his neck actually stood up, and he got so freaked out by it that he just booked it out of there. And, my dad is 6'6", big burly outdoorsman. He'd never been afraid of anything out there. And he came home, me and my brother just woke up, and he came driving up the driveway, and we thought he bagged a deer. We're like all excited. We run out there, and he didn't have anything. And he had this worried look on his face. And I'm like, well, what happened? He goes, I heard something out there. And he kind of went inside and kind of collected himself. And we finally got it out of him. We're like, what did you hear? And he said he thought about it, and it was very hard for him to describe, but he thought about it. And he said the best way to describe it is if you took a big metal table and you dragged it along a metal floor, and you have that, that sound. And I said, well, was it metal sounding? Was it like a crane that fell over or what? And I'm 14 years old asking my dad these questions. And he says, no, it was an animal, whatever it was, and it was big. And that was kind of the beginning of my journey, and it kind of sparked my interest, and I started researching Sasquatch at school, and I was all about it because my dad had an experience, and I pretty much knew that it was Sasquatch. What else could it be, right? So that started the whole thing, and not much happened until later in life. I went through the military, just kind of reading everything I could on it. And not really much interaction happened until later in life. And it happened, everything kind of kicked off right after I became a believer in God. So leading up.
Let me back you up a little bit. How old were you in, what year was it when you were around 14?
Oh, let's see. I don't know. I can't do the math. I graduated high school in 1999. So I
Okay.
was 18. So about 95, I want to say.
Okay.
94, 95.
That's the time frame. So that's not that long ago.
No. I mean, I'm not that old. I'm not like you. So just joking. I gotta insert a little humor here, buddy.
Just don't have to be jealous because I'm so handsome.
But anyways, so I did my thing. I went in the military and did my 6 years, got out, and it wasn't until I was with my wife and I became a believer in God, and I had this experience where God revealed himself to me, and my mind just opened, and like a switch came on. And I thought, okay, now that I know there is a God, what else is out there, And I started, well, maybe this Sasquatch is really real. I'm going to go out and see for myself,
Well, I'm gonna slow you down again, because listen, the God thing, that's like, that's kind of like my specialty. Spent my whole life in that realm. So tell me how, a little bit, give me the little whatever you have to do to describe what happened when this experience came to you, and how it happened and what it meant to you.
Well, the whole God experience, I was a non-believer. I didn't force my beliefs on my wife. She drugged me to church and everything, but it happened actually on CNN. I don't know if you remember the story of Heaven is for Real, which is a little boy that experienced heaven and came back.
Oh, right, like a near-death experience.
Right. And him, the little boy, and his father were on CNN talking about their book, Heaven is for Real. And at first I was, very convicted of it and said, this father's bringing his son on live TV to, fabricate this story, so on. But there was one thing in that story that just clicked with me. And he said one time that as the son came back, and he was kind of, telling his parents about his dealings with heaven. And he said while he was in heaven, his miscarried sister came up to him and basically revealed herself to him while he was in heaven. And the mom and dad just totally were baffled that he would know something like this, because they had miscarried before they even had him. So that right there just totally flipped the switch, and I knew that he was telling the truth. And that just opened my eyes to God and everything else, and flipped the switch with me, and my mind opened and everything else. And then and then after that, I figured out that God was real, and I started talking to God, and I was like, well, forgive me for not believing in you for 20 something years and all the things that I've done. I felt really guilty and kind of ashamed. So he revealed himself through nature to me, and it was just a beautiful experience. I was walking out by the dog park, and I was talking to him, and I said, how do I ask for forgiveness? And as soon as I said that, the light just came out of the clouds, and just these beautiful sun rays came down. I mean, it was just like perfect timing. And I just looked at it, and it was raining at the time. The rain stopped raining on my head, just like shut off, and the light came through the clouds, and it just had that awe moment, and just to this day, it just touches me. And that kind of started the whole process of me opening my mind and my spiritual self and pursuing God and other things in my life. And to kind of avenue into Sasquatch, it just, before it was just, research, and it was kind of a hobby on the internet and books. But then
let me interrupt you again before we get into Sasquatch, because this is really so important, because, you got hundreds of different people out there talking about Sasquatch. And there's a lot of Christians and a lot of people who are, believers in God, and then they have the Sasquatch, and then but they also have conflicts about it. Is it a demon? Is it this or that? But to me, I've had experience of God and stuff like that, and there was never a question that both the Sasquatch people and the Star people, God, Jesus, they're all on the same team. That's the way it is expressed to me, that there's no Sasquatch over here and God over there and Jesus up there. It's all on the same team. When your heart opens, there's the Christ guy or the light of God or that knowing, and then
Right.
these higher beings, whether you call them angelic beings or the star people, and then you have the Sasquatch people and the Dogman people and all these other beings out there that, okay, they can be scary, but the flip side is that they are very high spiritual beings. And I just wanted to put that in because there's still a lot of controversy about that in the Sasquatch community.
Right. Yeah.
I'm saying they're all God beings.
Right. And I know some pastors of churches that are actually believers in Sasquatch and have had experiences. So, you can't really exclude religion from Sasquatch. I mean, they kind of intertwine, and just because you're a believer of, God, or you're a Christian, doesn't mean you're not going to have experiences with Sasquatch. But to kind of keep going here, and I don't really like giving credit to Finding Bigfoot, the TV show, because I think it's kind of hokey and ridiculous, but they actually opened my mind to actually going out and looking for myself, because I saw it on TV and I watched it. I was like, that's a good idea. I'm going to go out there and kind of look for myself and see what I can see. So I give credit to them for that, but the show itself is really kind of hokey. But anyway, so I decided to go out there, and I wanted to get in contact with people that have had experiences with them. So I found some local guys. I went through some local guys here and there, 3 to be exact, and I started getting experiences, and I started getting in my researcher mode. I became a full-blown researcher, looking for tracks, physical evidence, put the researcher hat on and go out there and chase them around, So I went through that mode and that process, and I, when you go through that researcher mode, you're going to eventually run across the higher ideas of Sasquatch, cloaking, the paranormal stuff, and you're either going to shut it down or you're going to pursue it. And I ended up pursuing it, and by that, I started opening my mind to higher ideas of Sasquatch, and I started putting away the researcher ideas. And I wanted, instead of proving they were real, I wanted to actually have a relationship with them. So I started putting away the researcher ideas.
That's the key right there. As soon as you go from let me grab something, find something, to let me be friends. Let me see what it's all about on that level. That's when the whole thing changes.
Exactly. So I kind of shied away from the researcher mentality and went to more of a habituation friend mentality. I knew they were out there, and there was I regret this, but there was a time where I got so frustrated going out there, I actually yelled at them. I was out in the forest. I knew they could see us. I knew they were around, but I stood there and I yelled in the forest, and I was like, why won't you guys come say hi? And I'm yelling at them. And I just got to a point of frustration, like, why are you hiding? And I later went home and totally regretted doing that, and I said I would never do that again. And, but since then, I started really going up to where I grew up, and there was one last mission that I had to do, is I had to try to get one of my friends where I grew up on camera to prove to my father that they're real. So I spent a whole year up behind my dad's house where I grew up, and just sat there, just putting film on them. And, and I got some great shots. I mean, I see nostrils, and I get face shots. I get all kinds of stuff up there, and the whole purpose was just to show my dad, hey, these beings are real, and they're right behind your house. So I gathered the best of my stuff, and I went and showed him. And, and I'm saying, look right there, that's a face. Those are nostrils. And he's like, well, I see what you talked about, but I'm not really sure, And it just proves that if you are not looking for it, I mean, it can be right in front of your face, but if you don't have the eyes to see, you're not going to see it. If you don't truly believe in your mind first and have the faith, it'll be right in front of your face and you will just totally deny it. So I gave up on that. I gave it a year, and I decided that's it. I'm done. No more filming them. I'm gonna put the video camera down, and I'm strictly just gonna go up with my flute, go up with myself, and go hang out with them and build this relationship with them. And I made that choice, and I just threw all of it down. And I started going up there and just spending personal time with them, playing the flute for them, and just meditating up there, and just having personal time up there. That's when things started happening. That's when the ball started rolling and got past the wall, so to speak. I kind of broke into their inner circle, and so I started doing that, and I started having contact.
Let me ask you, Mike, how far away from your house did you have to go? Did you go like a long ways away, or was it just like, how far away? Or?
Oh, I grew up in the woods. I mean, hillbilly country. So my house, right within 50 yards, was BLM property and all forest. And I ran around up there as a kid. So, I mean, we were right in the thick of the woods. I didn't have to go but maybe 50 yards and they were back there. So
when you went to go play your flute and hang out with them, it was basically, you didn't even have to get in the car. You just kind of hiked out, right?
Oh yeah, it was basically a 20-minute walk back up into the woods, up on a little hilltop back there that I chose, and they would be all gathered around. And one time I heard them collectively saying in my head, "Play the flute, chanting, "Play the flute," because they were so excited, and that was awesome. But anyways, where was I going with this?
Yeah, you just said you shifted from being a researcher, and then you put all that away. That's where you were left off.
Right. Oh, I was going to go into meditation. So I started to I wanted to advance more spiritually and just connect with them at a higher level. And I heard meditation was a good idea. So I started trying meditation. And meditation was basically what started the communication for everything. Through meditation, I was able to connect with them on a higher level, on a telepathic psychic level. Not only them, but other beings, all sorts of other beings. And I would meditate Monday through Thursday for about an hour each day. And the first week, I didn't get anything. I didn't have any results. And most people just shut off in the first week. But I kept going and I kept meditating. And I started experiencing things, visions, information downloads, thought impressions, just all kinds of stuff started coming to me. And, at first it was a little overwhelming because I had to kind of sift through all of that. But then I was able to, with practice, kind of narrow things down, and feel the presence of specific Sasquatches, learn how to connect just by saying their name or thinking about them, then they automatically come to me. And it's really just gotten to the point now where I'm so psychically linked to them that I will be in the shower and all I have to do is think about Balana, and boom, we're instantly synced, and we can have a conversation while I'm taking a shower, which is awesome. But
that's outstanding. I mean, I was a big meditator for most of my life. Like I got into the tens of thousands of hours, like 14 something thousand hours of meditation, because I had a guru and I was really into it. So I know what happens, and you can spend a lot of time and not really experience much, but then when you do, whoa, that's the real deal.
Right. And, you know, through my meditation sessions,
connection, that can't be talked about enough, because it is a soul kind of spiritual thing. It can happen not because of meditation. It doesn't have to be because of it, but meditation definitely seems to help.
well, what I've learned is the Sasquatch will reach who they feel that are trusted humans. They will reach to them at any level they can. You know, sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's, you know, a little more difficult, but they try to guide you to higher levels. But they will communicate with you through glyphs, through, you know, certain other means, you know, physically, just by seeing them, you know. But they will try to communicate with you at whatever level that you're at. But they always try to guide you to higher levels. And fortunately, I've been able to be at a level that's very psychic and telepathic with them, which makes physical sightings really not necessary. You know, I do see them. I mean, I'm able to see them. Like, I can walk in my backyard right now and I could point out how many are right there, because I can see their energy when they're cloaked. I taught myself how to do that through a video camera. I was able to see them on the video camera, and then I would go out in the backyard and videotape my backyard and say, okay, there's one right there right now. And then I would sit there and look with my eyes and compare. And I started seeing the differences between the energy that they project and what's not there. So I taught myself how to see them while they're cloaked, which anybody can do, but it takes a trained eye and it takes practice, because the distortion that they project is very minute compared to what's not there. So, I mean, I can see them with my eyes physically, and that's how I ran into Balana out in the backyard. He was always standing in my plum tree, and I went out. What I like to do is I like to eat my lunch, and then I'll go out in the backyard, and I'll just try to be with them, and I'll go under the plum tree and try to be within his energy field, because I can see his energy. I know he's there. And then I'll go stand inside of him and eat and just kind of be one with him. And one day I was doing that, and I was just eating my food, just thinking, you know, thinking I should meditate out here within his energy and see what happens, you know. And instantly that thought, he sent it back to me, and he said, come to me and I will tell you. I will share with you. And I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. And we just started having a dialogue right there as I'm eating my lunch in my head. And I said, well, how do you want me to come to you? And he told me, in the purest way possible. I was like, well, what does that mean? I was like, what does that mean? I was like,
human beings have no clue. I go, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He said,
completely real.
Yeah, he wanted me to come to him spiritually pure and physically pure. And he's very traditional. And it's funny, once you get on this level, that you can pick different personalities out. He's got a very traditional, stern personality, you know, and some other Sasquatch have a very happy-go-lucky, you know, clown kind of personality, and they like to laugh. He's very stern and strong, you know. So I said, do you want, I can't come out in the backyard naked. That's about as pure as I can get physically, you know. My neighbors are right over there, and they're not going to appreciate that. And he goes, well, come out as pure as you can. So I came out, and this is during the summertime. I came out with just shorts on, you know, bare feet, no shirt, you know, and I wanted to come out on the grass with bare feet and just as pure and simple as I could. So I came to him. It was the first initial meeting. I came to him, purest way possible, pure in spirit, sat down with him under the plum tree within his energy. I'm sitting inside of him. His energy's all around me. And then we begin the dialogue. And then I'll put in my earbuds with my meditation music. Usually it's Native American flute or, you know, heart meditation music from Pandora, whatever. I have this music playing. So it kind of drowns out the world and everything. Kind of puts me in a zone. So I'll sit down and I'll just kind of find my center and kind of be still and get into my meditation spot that I like. And then I'll start asking him, questions telepathically. And then I'll get answers, and we have a dialogue. And I just start, we have a session. So the first session, we talked about, basically I had my feet on the ground, and they were bare feet. And he told me, "Do you feel your feet? You feel your feet on the ground right now?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Do you feel the Earth's energy coming up through the Earth into your feet?" And I said, "Yes." And I could feel it. I could feel the Earth's energy coming through my feet and that connection. And then we started talking about, how the human species is always wearing rubber on the bottom of their feet and kind of keeping that connection dulled down. We don't walk around barefoot anymore. We always have rubber on our feet. We're always walking on concrete. We hardly walk on the bare earth anymore. We lose that connection with Mother Earth. And so he started talking about that. And I've got these lessons typed out and everything. So, and I try to share these in my new group. But that was the first meeting. That's what kicked it off. And it's not just a psychic connection I get with him. I'll ask for a vision. I'll ask for him to confirm with a vision of his face, and he will snapshot a vision in my face, in my head, and I will see his face right here. I mean, it's literally just a blip, and it's a vision, and it's so detailed. You can see the wrinkles on his face. You see his nose. You see his big brow. Such a elder-looking, wisdom-filled Sasquatch, black hair. I mean, I just get all this detail, and it's just a flash, and I get it, and it's a confirmation. Yes, this is me. It's just so amazing.
Could you say, like, what was it? Was it earlier this summer that this started, or was it last summer?
It was this summer.
Okay, so this is like pretty fresh.
This is pretty brand new.
And we're into the fall now. We're into, I guess, getting close to winter now. So that's this year. But then, this was going on in the Sasquatch community as things are happening fast for people.
Right.
The people who are being connected by Sasquatch, 6 months ago, they didn't even know what Sasquatch was. And now the Sasquatch are talking in their head or protecting them or teaching them.
Right.
Things are moving fast.
Balana told me, he said, now is the time that the collective consciousness of the Sasquatch are coming forward and bringing their message to trusted humans. They're all coming forward. I mean, you see it with Kelly and Kawani, with Camus. You see it, with, other people like Brian Bland, and everybody's getting these connections with these Sasquatch. They're coming forward and trying to connect with these humans to share their message and trying to collectively, they have an agenda. They want us to rise above the dark forces that are in this world, the lower forces that are trying to control us as a human species. They know all about that, and they're trying to help us rise above that and to get out of that. Because right now, everything going on with the human species is not going in a great direction. So they're there to help us rise up out of it.
The reason why I have to interrupt you is because people really don't understand just how important that is. Because not only are they illuminating people's minds and having them so they can have interspecies communication through psychic, it's talking telepathy with people.
All right.
But also there's this whole lower lord thing is people really we don't have any resistance to that lower lord business. And that's been going on for a really long time. And it's just so important what they're doing is this communication. And you're right, there's you and Kelly and Sunbow, and there's a few other people out there. And these are just the people that we know in our circle. There's probably other people doing all kinds of stuff out there. But that's right. Also happening with the ET world. There's all kinds of channel messages from the ET world, and There's people from the Agartha world, from the, they're coming up and trying to be an ambassadors now, and they're having little conferences and stuff. And so this is the time we're in, and the reason why I want to say this is important is because people need to know that this is going on. It's not just apes in the wood hiding from you.
Right.
There's a real connection going on, and like with human beings, we have our masters and our teachers and our shamans. The Sasquatch have masters, teachers, and shamans. And if you're going to be getting information from them, or you're getting some kind of special attention from them, it's because that Sasquatch was chosen for you, or chose you, and there's a real special bond there.
Right. Yeah, it's very, I get nothing but love and affection from them. There's been a few times where I've had, other clans let me know that they don't appreciate my presence. They're not always sugar and rainbows. There are times where, they will let you know when they don't like something. But the Book of Elders, I do want to talk about really quick, because it ties into my group that I created. And the Book of Elders is basically going to be a book that I am going to publish in my later years. It's going to be basically a life accumulation. And it was given to me in a vision that I would create this book. And what I saw was a big, thick, old leather-bound book with metal decorations on it, and it looked super old. I mean, it was very thick. It had to be about that thick, and it was just leather-bound, very old-looking. And it was given to me that I would create this book, and it would look like this. And I was like, what am I going to call it? And as soon as I asked that question, Book of the Elders hit my head. So this Book of the Elders is going to be very thick. It's going to have a ton of information, and it's going to be an accumulation of my experiences with Sasquatch, other higher dimensional beings, because I'm not only talking to Sasquatch, but I've got communications with Agarthans, we've got communications with Arcturians. I mean, with that can be a whole nother session. And that's all through meditation and, other experiences. But, I mean, it's,
yeah, but it was kicked off by your connection to your Sasquatch elder. And that's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what I wanted to showcase, and why I was so excited to talk to you is because that's how it goes. There's people who come to Sasquatch from being star children, and there's people who come to the star people from Sasquatch people. So that's so important that's it's interconnected. They're interconnected. The other thing I wanted to throw out there is there's Kelly and Kawani Lapiditis, and then Sunbow. They've written, I think they're up to the third book now of the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. But what a lot of people may not understand is there's actually different tribes of Sasquatch, and so that means there's different elder groups and different messages that they have. Just like American Indians, they all have basically a lot of similarities, but there's different. Each tribe will have its different view, its different flavor of what's going on in the world. What is our interface with them, and different view on history, but it'll be basically harmonics of the same story.
Right. And that's what I've gotten from Balana is, there is a collective conscious amongst them. They can tap into the collective, and everything's shared on a psychic level. But also there's separate groups, separate clans, and each clan, by the clan leader and the elders of that clan, run the group in kind of their own fashion. They have their own little beliefs and, little ways they operate within the clan. And it's not all the same across the board. Different clans have different ways of operating, just like, our cultures do. And, just this recent lesson I had with Balana, he talked about relationships among themselves in the clan. And one of the most beautiful things I ever heard from him was, when they decide to take a mate, is the male will go around and try to impress the mate by breaking branches, and they will do other things to impress the female. And there's no physical violence when it comes to competing for a female, but they go around and try to impress the female in order to, you know, get her to become their mate. And the best thing that, you know, we have wedding ceremonies as humans, but what they do is when they decide to mate, they mate for life, and their ceremony is in a dematerialized form. They end up cloaking or become dematerialized, and both of them circle each other in a dematerialized form. And this ceremony is basically a marriage ceremony, but they don't call it that. They circle each other in a dematerialized form. And if you go out there and you see one of these, like what it'll look like is you'll see kind of what they use is flowers. Flowers will be kind of circling in kind of like a slow tornado. And it's them kind of circling each other in dematerialized form, doing this kind of wedding ceremony. And they'll do that. And basically it's a mating ceremony saying, hey, we're mated for life. And they operate as one, and they twirl around as one. And they have these flowers and other things they want to put in there that kind of circle around and make this beautiful little small tornado. And that's what Balana told me. That's how they, you know, his clan does a mating ceremony. And I mean, he gave me the vision in my head as he was telling me this. And it was just so beautiful. And it was just, you know, I wish all the humans could see how beautiful they are, and, you know, how their relationships within the clan, you know, are. And it's, you know, it was just amazing. But other things he talks about, he goes on to talk about glyphs and, you know, structures, and all of this can be found in my group, or you can ask me and I'll give you the lesson. I don't think we have enough time to go into it all here, but it's pretty exciting. I sense that this is going to be a long-term relationship with him, and he's going to have a lot to tell me. But it's interesting that he'll switch his mode of input up when he talks about things that are pretty hard to talk about. Like this last session was about portals, and he couldn't really put it into words and give it to me. So he had to give it to me in thought impressions and downloads. So it wasn't like I was seeing him talking in my head. It was instant thoughts he put in my head. So if I asked him, you know, what is a portal? Bam. There was an instant idea of what a portal is. And he gave me that information that way. So it was kind of technical, and he couldn't really explain it in words or in human words. So he had to give it to me in kind of a thought. And, you know, I know Brian Bland experiences that, and other people experience that as well. But when the information gets really technical and really hard to understand, he switches it up to thoughts instead of, you know, using human words.
I've had, that's mostly how I get communicated with is like a little, like you said, that picture that it looks like it's just coming at you and it's gone, and you have to pay attention because everything is in that picture. You know, meanings, history, the words, what it was, and plus the visual. So it's you have to be on your toes when those things happen, because they don't give any warning. They just happens.
Bam.
Yeah. So
it's interesting. I with the visions, because when I go into meditation, I'll get visions of all sorts of things. You know, ETs will send me their visions of what they look like. I'll get visions of you know, cities under the earth. You name it. I start getting visions for all kinds of things, and it's very detailed visions, and you'll know it because it'll be a snapshot, and then bam, it'll go away, but you still remember what you saw. And then it's just so detailed. I mean, the detail is what gets me, is I can draw it out. It's so detailed. But the first time I was aware that I could actually receive visions or had the ability to see visions was before my daughter's born. She's 7 now. But before my daughter was born, my wife was pregnant, and I was laying in bed thinking about what she's going to look like. And all of a sudden, I get the flash, and it's my daughter when she was 14 years old. Just her face flashed right in front of my face and then went away. And it was so detailed. I saw her curly hair. I saw everything, and it just made me smile. And that was my first actual vision. And that's when I realized I was able to see visions. And I kind of tapped into it since then.
Well, here again, I'm so glad we're getting to talk about this stuff. Okay, there's the psychic stuff, right? Woo-woo stuff. But there are visions, auditory things you feel in your body. Like a lot of times when I'm cruising the internet, I'll get some kind of a poke. It's not a physical poke. It's like an urge to check out what's going on with the Sasquatch on YouTube, and I'll look through there, and then I'll actually find something. It's like, mind blowing or really confirming. So that's what I call pokes, or like they want you to go in that direction, right. And you'll get this little urge,
Right.
Well, there's like this whole variety of ways that they can connect with us. But one of the things I want to talk about right now was one of the things that they showed me through, I guess I started having communication with Sasquatch in 2012 a little bit, and then 2013 until now. But they kind of showed me about this thing called all one and no space. And those two understandings right there, I don't know if have you ever heard them talk about all one or no space?
Well, when you say all one, I assume you're talking about we're all one.
Yeah. When they
talk and then no space.
Right.
Well, and then no space is space and time don't exist.
Right. In other words, like you and me, we're talking, and I'm here, and then there's my computer screen right there, and then it goes all the way over to the other side of the United States, and then there's your computer screen, and then there's you. That's
right.
But with Sasquatch, there's no space. So that means when we're talking about him, it means my Sasquatch friend is right here now, inside me and outside me. Your Sasquatch friend is inside you and outside you right now simultaneously. That's what it means, no space. But I wanted to give an insight on how that works with visions. So it also, that goes to no time as well. So when you see them, when they give you a vision, or when you see them, like I see the dog man, or I see my Sasquatch friends in my vision, or sometimes in my dreams, that's actually inside of you. That's not a vision that's outside of you. That is inside of you. And there's a connection there that you can actually connect to everything in the whole goddamn universe that way. You can connect to the trees, you can connect to the birds, you can connect to the four-legged people, you can connect to whatever, your family, your friends, beings, people in the past, like your past life stuff. All that stuff can be found within inside you, because it's in this thing of no space. And the all one. So to me, this is like a profound, different way to live your life. So when I walk out and say to my yard and to the sidewalk and say, "Hey, Sasquatch," I have to also say, "Hello, sky people. Hello, hello, the tree people. Hello, winged people." I have to do that because I know that they're all in my space. They're all with me all the time. And this is a profound shift for humanity to be profoundly connected to the spirit world all the time.
Right.
That is a difference. That's it, because we are very isolated, separated, personalities. And to me, that's the biggest illusion. We're not separated from anything. We're connected to the earth, to the sky.
Exactly. And people don't understand that. As a human species, we're taught at an early age that we're disconnected from things. And when we actually realize and think about it and really think that in truth, we aren't disconnected from anything. We are all of one source. We are all connected. there's no disconnection at all. Like you and I are connected just by talking to each other. You may be in Florida, I may be in Oregon, but just by talking to each other, we're a lot closer. Our consciousness is a lot closer together now. And in reality, there's no connection. Everything is energy. Even this desk is energy, this chair is energy. It's all just a different manifestation of energy, but it's all connected to one thing. So when humanity realizes that we're all just one source, part of one source, like the body of God, this is Michael, this is me, but we're all part of the one source. When we realize that, then we realize what we do to someone else, we actually do to ourselves, because that's just an extension of ourselves. And when humanity realizes that we're all connected, then there's going to be a shift in consciousness where everybody will be helping each other out. Everybody will realize that the detriment of somebody else, a detriment to a certain species or a detriment to a certain race of people, is a detriment to yourself. And then they'll start getting along, they'll start collaborating, they'll start coming together as one, and then all the problems will be solved. And I mean, that's the biggest statement that we can give anybody, is we are one.
Yeah, and Sasquatch, they do that, not with words. Like I spent a whole bunch of stupid words. You spent some wonderful words talking about this, but they do it without words. They just keep giving you experience, and sooner or later it just dawns on you. The only way that this can happen is if I'm connected to them all the time, and I'm also connected to God all the time. I'm also connected to the masters all the time. I'm also connected to the angels all the time. I'm also connected to stars and planets. You see?
All right.
It's like you have this little meltdown inside your head that is like
mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing, yeah. And I think that's why they do it kind of gradually, because and they don't really tell you they don't really tell you that's what they're doing. But this whole government thing and school and religion and language and societies and separations and culture, all that stuff just is all made up.
It really is. It's really a prison in a sense. Our society and the way our culture is being run is a prison. It's keeping us in prison, and is keeping us asleep. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to wake us up and rise above being sleepwalkers, and rise above and have everybody join in a mass consciousness change. And I've got another group on Facebook called League of Light that I started, and that is to get everybody to bring about a consciousness change. And whether it's through meditation or just being that light in the world, all it takes, the God source told me, all it takes is 5% of the whole population to collectively make that change, and it will change everything. 5%. 5% of the whole world is all is needed. And if we can come together in 5% and collectively change the world, it will happen. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to get with other light workers and trying to get that going too.
There's no question about that, because if you have 5% of the population, which is hundreds and hundreds of millions of people, you have that many people connecting to the all one, and they're also connected to the rest of humanity. That's the thing. We have this biofield, which is this epigenetic thing. That's the society's biofield, and then the humanity's biofield, which is what the oversoul is. Once you're connected to this all one thing, or to the no space thing, then that means what you feel is connected to the vibrational field of the whole thing. So to have 5%, that's a huge number.
Right. Yes, sir. So it's an amazing journey for sure. And, I think we really have to stop taking ourselves so seriously too. I mean, we have to realize that, this is a reality that we've created. It's kind of a reality in which we get to experience who we want to be. And if we stop being so serious and taking it as, like it's going to be so detrimental, and like it's going to affect us in such a uh, it can't kill us. You know, this is all simulated reality. You know, we're going through this experience, and we're determining how we're going to be. Who are we going to be within this experience? We're going to go through our life, and then once we get done with this life, we're going to realize it was just a play. It was just a game. You know, how did we do in that game? You know, when we learn to be the player of the game and not be played by the game, that's when the whole thing will change. You know, people are worried about you know, all these negative forces in the world, and they let fear take a hold of them, and then that's the opposite of what you want to do. I mean, fear needs to exist in order to experience love, which is the opposite. But you take fear and you take these negative things as what they are, and you decide, who do I want to be in the wake of these things? Do I want to be the light, or do I want to succumb to fear and be part of it? You know, so it's just a game too. I mean, we need to stop being so serious about this stuff and play around with it. You know, have fun, play around with it, you know, and just open ourselves to all the possibilities that life has to offer.
Absolutely. You know, I have this thing that one of the things I realized in one of my many meditations was that we're all infinite and immortal, and what was never created. I mean, the only way you can have memories of the beginning of creation, or how all this stuff is, you have to be connected to what was never created. It's been there from the beginning. So in a way, this is just all a play. You know, everything's been there from the beginning. So how could it really hurt you, you know? And so in a way, it takes the pressure off. You know, you just be you, and you don't have to carry the burden or the sins of the world. You know,
Right.
You just do you. That's all you got to do. And
one last story, you just reminded me of one last story I want to share, and I think it'd be a good thing to end on. And you said the beginning of creation. I was in meditation one time, and I had a YouTube video called Ecstatic Choir of Angels. And such a beautiful sound to it, and I was listening to it, and I was meditating. I was in a deep meditation, and all of a sudden I've got this vision of this bright light source, a huge, bright, whitish, goldish light source out in the middle of the darkness. And it started off as source, and I knew this automatically was God. Just by looking at it.
absolutely, that's the way. That's it right there. That's it. When you go to see a guru, and the guru shows you God, that's what he shows you. That light right there.
So I saw this source, and all of a sudden it started dancing. It started little, you know, in all direction. It started going out and started dancing with light. And it wasn't an explosion, but it was a beautiful dance. And it started twisting and turning and making galaxies and making universes and stars. And it started going out. And what I was witnessing, I realized was creation. It started as one source, and then it danced out in all directions and created what we know today. And it was such a beautiful thing that, I mean, nothing else can compare to it. It was so beautiful. And I was blown away that I just witnessed creation. And it was such a beautiful dance that it touches my heart.
That's exactly what I'm saying. Now that vision, that wasn't on a YouTube. That was inside of you. That wasn't something playing on a screen somewhere. That means that universe was inside of you being created while you were inside of you watching the universe being created, and you were inside your body.
Isn't that so awesome?
Like, wow.
So profound.
I've had those experiences different than yours, but I mean, I've had that same kind of, the only way it makes sense is if it is in fact inside of you simultaneously. I mean, I have experienced feeling all the suffering, for example, of every human being that ever lived, plus all the animals that have ever lived on this planet, because I just started connecting to my suffering, to their suffering, and it just took me out to the whole of the earth, you know. And then there was another time when I watched the earth cool down. Now, how can, you know what, there's nobody on earth. It's this red kind of glowing ball, and a whole bunch of people around me are watching the earth cool down going, yay. You know, it's like homes getting made ready, you know. So.
Wow. Yeah, it's such a profound thing to think that, you know, you have so much power and so much, you have God inside of you, you know, and my good friend Joshua, everybody knows him as Jesus Christ. When he said the kingdom of God is inside of you, he really meant it. You know,
There's no
you
joke.
know that there's no distorting that fact. I mean, it really is inside of you. And when you learn to tap into it, when you learn to understand on an intellectual level and a deeper level, it's just an amazing feeling. It really is.
Well, I want to end it on love because that's what Joshua, that's what Jesus represents. That's what the Sasquatch people actually are heart spirits. In my view, they're the earth, uh, the archangels are earth spirits that are heart spirits. They take care of the heart of the earth, which is the trees and the mountains and things. So, but it's all about the heart. You know, it's all about love. And if you have an open heart, you have a pure heart, you're going to start seeing fairies and cryptids and you know, who knows what. I mean, I have the list of people that I've talked to who have seen dragons and mythological creatures. There you go. So
You name it, brother. I've seen a lot.
and lion-headed people. I know people who've seen goat-headed, which is like that god Pan. You know, it's like a goat feet, and I think he has a goat head, but he plays a flute or something. I don't remember actually what it is, but all these things out there are actually still around.
Oh, we got to talk again, my friend. I mean, I can tell you about riding with my dragon friend in meditation.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
it's amazing. I mean, that's an experience in itself. But yeah, as far as Sasquatch goes, I've given you a brief
You're not
overview.
the only one with the dragons, buddy. So don't think that's, you know, I have a friend of mine who's actually in a relationship with a dragon. In other words, it was like many lifetimes, and they exchanged this heartfelt thing, and so he's got this great sort of romantic, I don't know what you call it, with a dragon. So
That's awesome.
that's just, it's all about the love. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir. Oh, I appreciate talking to you, man. This was a great conversation.
Well, this was was really excited, and I'm glad we got to some of the major points that you know, that just aren't ever really talked about in the Sasquatch circles. You know.
All right.
So
All right.
thanks a lot, buddy, and we will talk again. And listen,
Yes, we will.
I'll talk to you later about. I'm going to put underneath in the description on YouTube. I'm going to put whatever groups that you want people to bother you on. Some
That's
people
fine
don't,
with me.
people don't want it, you know. So whatever, you just let me know, and I'll put that description down below.
I will do that.